about a week later, I start getting more TikTok notifications and I'm like, that's weird. And they were all for this video. I'm back. It's only been 2 weeks, but 2 weeks in YouTube world feels like forever. So today we're doing a life update because some things have been thanging. Let's just get into it. So your girl is no longer gainfully employed. This video is gonna be the story about how that happened. I think my last Get Ready With Me video was when I was still pregnant, maybe. So maybe 2 years ago was the last time I did a Get Ready With Me. Anyway, it's been a while. There have been some new developments in my story, and suffice to say, things have gotten a little bit real. And I just wanted to kind of like, you know, touch base with my day ones and tell you guys about it. So I won't say I'm a goody two shoes, but I am like somebody who tries to keep my offline life kind of personal. I'm saying that as if I have like a, you know what I'm saying. So I never really talked about my day job. I usually kept like my work life, my 9 to 5 work life, like offline. I didn't really talk much about it. I never talked about where I worked. So long story short, I've been working at this job for about 4 years, and the environment that I was in was within a large corporation, within a large company, but it was more of like a startup environment. I worked my way up in this organization from probably like the most entry level that you can be to a point where right before I resigned, where I was leading a team of like 13 tech specific folks. And I prided myself a lot on working as hard as I did to get where I was, but until recently, I didn't realize just how hard I had to fight to get the roles that were due to me based on my experience and the work that I was doing, the level of work that I was doing, the capacity in which I was working. And I don't know how relatable this is. Y'all let me know if you relate to this, but I don't know if it was because it was like my first out of college corporate job, but I was like very emotionally invested, not only in this company, but like in this role in general. Like I was ride or die. Clock in early, yes, I got you. Leave late, yes, I got you. And like, I know some of y'all are looking at me with a side eye right now, like, girl, why? And I think a lot of it had to do with just throwing myself into work to avoid trauma. And also, I think in a sense, to give myself and to feel like I was giving my life meaning. In retrospect too, like the environment, the work environment that I was in was toxic in that it celebrated that. Like they was gonna let me work the hell out myself. They was like, yes girl, yes, do it for 10%. Because it works to the benefit of the business, right? Like this is not to say that they were being malicious in any way. But I think in some ways, indifference can be worse than like intentional cruelty. And I think they were indifferent to the amount of stress and pain that I was under, specifically like the people that I directly reported to. And I started to really suffer. I had really bad postpartum depression after I had my son. I was suffering through like family issues, family trauma. My mom was diagnosed with cancer while I was pregnant, with breast cancer while I was pregnant. She passed away in November, right after my father passed away in October. And I had some really complex feelings about their passing. Basically, I was a whole mess. I was dealing with a lot emotionally. I was communicative with my leadership, but they were just kind of like, okay girl, like you got a lot going on. But there was no concerted effort to like reduce my workload despite me like literally begging for it. And girl, spoiler alert, it did not get better. I returned and I obviously you're not the same. You know what I mean? Like you're not the same person, and not only is it like I'm not the same person because I've had this really traumatic event happen to me. I'm also not the same person because I'm a mother now and I value my time more than I did when you guys were praising me for killing myself, because I want to spend this time with my child. I want to spend this time with my husband. I want to spend this time with my family. I vividly remember my breaking point was I was sitting downstairs in our dining room because I had told myself if I start working from the dining room instead of my office, that it will feel more like relaxing because the TV's right there and I could like watch TV and work. This never actually happened. The TV still stayed off. But I was like, oh, and like the kitchen's right here because I'm in the dining room, so maybe I'll eat something. Maybe I'll eat something. Do you know how like toxic and like disgusting that phrase is? I was hopeful that because I had moved myself from upstairs in my office to downstairs in the dining room, that maybe I would have the opportunity to eat something during the day while I worked. Because otherwise I wouldn't even leave downstairs. I would sit upstairs like attached to my desk all day long and would forget to eat. I wouldn't be able to take lunches because my schedule would be so crazy crammed back to back to back to back. I went months without lunches. It was the most. I don't remember even what the issue was that day, but I was so incredibly stressed. My husband came downstairs to like get something to eat and I was literally smacking, like slamming my keyboard down on the dining room table and crying because I was so stressed. And my husband was like, enough. Like, I'm not gonna watch you do this to yourself anymore. Like you do this, like this is every day. It's every day with you now that you're down here crying about this job. Like I just can't do it anymore. I called my therapist and I was like, girl, I'm about to lose my mind. And she was like, okay, I'm gonna put you on FMLA, on mental health leave. There's a stigma around it. There's definitely a stigma around mental health leave, which is wild because you wouldn't think differently of someone who is on leave because they have like a broken leg or a broken wrist and they can't type and your whole job is fucking typing. If my job requires me to be personable and social and be able to handle a high degree of stress, and my anxiety and my PTSD is not allowing me to handle that degree of stress, that is a medical condition. I need to be on medical leave. And this is like something that shouldn't be taboo. This should no longer be taboo. So bada bing, bada boom, I'm on leave. Like 2 days into my leave, I get a text message from my boss and he's like, hey. Keep in mind, at this point in time, I'm literally in the waiting room at my therapist's office. Because my therapist was like, okay, you just had a whole nervous breakdown. I need you to see me at least once a week. Immediately, like starting now. And my boss texts me and he's like, hey, I just wanna let you know as a friend what people are saying about you at work because your LinkedIn profile says ready for work and you just went on leave. And I was like, first of all, what we're not gonna do is try to make me feel guilty about putting my health first. Second of all, I told you months ago that I was gonna be looking for a job outside the company. A week before I had my mental breakdown, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I need your help. Like, either this gets better or like I need to start looking outside of the company. So I had actually updated my LinkedIn status to looking for work far ahead of me going on leave. But he felt like it was his damn citizen's duty to let me know that people at work were speculating that I was going on leave to find another job and that I was trying to milk the company for money while I was on leave because it's a paid leave. When I tell you that text message sent me spiraling. If there's anything that men in a corporate environment will have, it is the audacity. Because how in the hell did you think that it would be appropriate for you to text me something like that while I'm on leave for mental health issues? Make it make sense, because the math isn't mathing. Like, on what planet? And then to say, as a friend, whose friend are you? Not mine, because friends don't do friends like that. So I was like, oh no. These things would ultimately like culminate in me determining like, hey, maybe this place just doesn't care about you. And like, some of you may be like, duh. But keep in mind, like, this is my first experience in a corporate environment. So I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. So it was really eye-opening for me to see that this quote unquote family who was supposed to care about me, as soon as I made a decision for my own mental health, they were like, bring out the pitchforks, let's burn this bitch to the ground. She is a traitor, she is a faker. Meanwhile, I'm just over here trying not to unalive myself on a daily basis. Like, like Like, come on. So at this point, I'm like, okay, bet. Like, there's nothing else that I can say to my boss at this point in time because he has made it glaringly clear that he does not care about my actual mental health. I text him back and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna talk to our VP, which is his boss. I was like, look, I need to, if you're saying that people, because at this point I'm feeling like I need to do damage control, which is wild. Why would I feel like I need to do damage control for taking leave that is entitled to me as part of my like benefits as an employee for mental health? Like, why am I feeling like I need to save face for this? So anyway, I'm like, I'm just gonna call our VP because I need to make sure that she doesn't think what you're saying everybody thinks. I need to save face with her. So call her and she's like, yeah, like maybe, essentially the conversation was a gaslight session. It was like, well, we're all stressed and maybe when you come back, like we'll just put you not in a leadership role, as if it was the leadership role that drove me to being stressed out and having this breakdown, as opposed to the volume of work and the unrealistic expectations that this organization was placing on people. Like it was the most bizarre conversation I've ever had, because it was like, yeah, we definitely want to make sure that we keep you and we don't lose you because you've done so much for our company. Like we don't want to lose you because of a poor job fit. Huh? It's not poor job fit, it's poor leadership. That's the tea. So at this point, I'm like, am I fucking like, is this a different universe? Like, is everybody completely batshit insane? Like, how is this even a thing? So at this point, I'm like beyond furious. Like, furious isn't a strong enough word for what I'm experiencing right now. Like, it made me feel a way. I was like, okay, so y'all never gave a fuck, actually, is what you're telling me right now. So I'm continuing on with my leave. I'm still going to therapy. At this point in time, I'm still thinking like, you know, I'm gonna go back to work eventually, so I need to figure out some coping mechanisms for the stress that I'm gonna be under, because the stress isn't gonna go away, so maybe I just need to find a better way to deal with it and handle it. Then I get a call from one of my colleagues while I'm on leave, and she is telling me some additional things that my boss is saying about me around the water cooler. And it's funny because her words were words that like only he would use, like things that only he would say. And I knew like, I knew immediately, like, yeah, he said that shit. You said that shit. So I post, and really like at this time I had like 200 followers on TikTok. I'm not big potatoes on TikTok at the time whatsoever, and I'm still not big potatoes, I wouldn't say. So I post this video on TikTok.
Something a job has taught you that you will never ever forget, no matter.
Senior leadership does not respect the people who work their hardest. Let me say that again. Senior leadership, your senior leadership does not respect you if you are the type of person that's giving it 110%. Again, I have like 200 followers on TikTok at the time. I'm not thinking anyone will see it. A few days go by and I'm literally thinking nothing of it. I'm just like, whatever, like I am just ranting. I got a couple likes, a couple comments of people being like, girl, yes, this is so true. About a week later, I start getting more TikTok notifications and I'm like, that's weird. And they were all for this video. Next thing I know, the views are climbing. It goes from like 80K views to 200K views. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's viral for me because I'm still very small. So 100K is like viral, okay? Y'all, why is that video currently at 900,000 views, almost 1 million views? Fix it, Jesus. I started getting like threads and threads of comments, people finding me on Instagram, people from my work like texting me and being like, oh my God, is this you? And I'm like, you weren't supposed to see that. But I think one of the reasons that it went so viral is because it's so relatable. Like I was shocked by the amount of people who had that same exact experience and who were suffering through that experience at the same time as me. I'm thinking like, you know, I'm in a silo, but this is a lot of businesses, a lot of companies treat their workers this way. And it's crazy because I remember there was like a Cat Williams quote that was circling a while ago, and it was like, I'm paraphrasing, I'm gonna find it and like put it up, but basically the gist of it was like, corporations and companies told you that you're working eight hours a day, that you're giving them 8 hours a day, but you're not. You're giving them much more than 8 hours a day, because what about sleep, right? If you sleep 8 hours a day and you give them 8 hours working per day. That's not including your commute, you waking up an hour early to get dressed and put on your makeup and get ready to commute, get in the car and drive there, drop off your kids at daycare if you have children, work a full 8 hours, get back in your car, sit in traffic, go pick up your kid, drive back home. Like at this point, we're talking at least 10 hours, if not more, depending on your commute. And then you have an additional, if you're lucky, 7 to 8 hours of sleep, right? Because if you want any personal time, you have to start eating into your sleep. If companies really told you the amount of time that you were giving them for the salary that they put on your job offer, you would be like, hell no. So how did that lead to me quitting my job? So like I said, I was planning on going back even after I posted the video and it started going viral, because I was like, oh, whatever, like things go viral all the time. No one's gonna remember this in a week. This is me being delusional. No one's gonna remember this. It's not a big deal. So anyway, naive me is thinking like, this is just a phase. It'll go away. I'll go back to work and like no one will care. Like no one will be thinking about it. Oh, champagne. Then I get a call from one of my direct reports and she's like, hey girl, miss you. But also our director and our VP, so my boss and my VP, called us into a meeting to talk about your TikTok. They called a whole ass meeting to talk about my TikTok video and to try to do like damage control so that my direct reports wouldn't feel like my video was true. Which, firstly, I was like, oh my God, like, I'm so flattered you guys are like watching my content. No. Initially, I was just kind of like, are you guys sitting around like in a kumbaya circle, like just watching my video on a loop? Like, are 899,000 of these views from y'all? Like, why are we having a meeting about this? This is not like news. Like, we all know how toxic this environment is. It's not news. I guess it's just shocking that it's coming from me. So she calls me and she's like, yeah, they had us like in this meeting and it was super weird. And like, they kept like asking us if we had seen this video and all of us have seen it. And I was like, all of you seen it? All of us have seen it, but like none of us would say your name because we're ride or die. So we didn't say your name. Like we all acted like we didn't know what the hell she was talking about. Some of us were like, I don't even have a TikTok. What's TikTok? Which is sweet. But yeah, I think my perspective on it initially was like shock. Like, I'm not important enough for you guys to be having a whole meeting about my TikTok. But also secondary to that, I was like, if you're that concerned about it, that's an indicator that you should probably make some changes to your work. So I basically just try to ignore it for the remainder of my leave. I'm like, okay, I'm just like not even gonna think about this until I go back. And then like if someone has something to say or if, you know, whatever happens is gonna happen when I go back. So D-Day comes, okay, and I log onto my computer the Monday that I'm returning back to work. And when I tell you guys, like I had like an overwhelming fear of like dread. I had a whole ass panic attack. As soon as I logged on, I was like, I actually can't do this. What am I gonna do? So I like sat there, I logged on an hour early just to kind of like sort through my emails and like prepare for the day. And I just, a full-blown panic attack, and my body was literally telling me like, we're not gonna let you do this again. Like, I can't do this to myself. I can't continue to put myself under this amount of stress. And I remember something that a friend told me a while ago, and she said, a toxic environment is more likely to change you than you are to change it. And that's all I was thinking when I logged in that day. It was like, I have been kind of like beating this drum of like, I can change things, I can make things better. Like, I'm gonna make sure that this isn't the story for the people who report to me, that they have a better experience. And it's like, there's only so much that I can do. There was only so much that I could try to change, just me by myself. It essentially requires a revamp of the entire leadership team in order for, like, unless the leadership team's on board, nothing's gonna change. And that's something that hit me pretty hard. Especially when I logged on and like was kind of touching base with some of the people that reported to me, and they were telling me nothing's changed. We're just as tired, if not more. You know, there hasn't been an attempt to realign or reorganize. If anything, they were just giving my work to people who reported to me, even like leadership duties, and not promoting them they were just reorganizing my work, but not addressing the actual workload, not saying like, okay, is this something that we can solve for long term? No, they were saying when she gets back, we're gonna give this all back to her, which is wild because it was essentially like, you didn't get it. I don't know if they ever are gonna get it. So long story short, I typed my resignation like in the midst of a panic attack. I feel like I had like an out of body experience because I don't even remember what I typed. I typed it like there was something that took over my body and I was like, bloop, 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 send. I couldn't even make it an hour without feeling like I was gonna be right back where I started. So I quit, girl. And I'm just, I think now just trying to figure out what I want because I don't want to go back to an organization just like that one. I also don't know if I want to go back to a traditional job at all. It may just be that I want to do this, talk to strangers on the internet and make viral content. But like that's a lot harder than it sounds, right? Like that job is harder than it sounds. But yeah, so that is the story of how I went viral and quit my job. And so you can expect more regular content out of me because I ain't got no job and I ain't got nothing else to do. So you will definitely be seeing more content from me. But yeah, what do you guys think about the Great Resignation and all these people quitting their jobs? Like, I can't even tell you the amount of comments of people saying like, this is my story and like I can't escape. Or that's why I quit my job yesterday or last week or last month. And people are quitting like in mass. People are quitting with no backup. They're like, everybody's like, I don't give a fuck. I just know I can't do this anymore. So yeah, let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section and give this video a like and I will catch you guys in my next one.